One of the things that Christians and atheists love to debate is whether or not the term homosexuality is actually seen in the Bible. And more often than not, they all get it wrong.
The is usually that the word homosexuality it gets incorporated into the Bible in like the modern era.
So here's the thing, the term homosexuality doesn't get included into the Bible until the modern era. It's really with the Revised Standard Version that we see the term homosexuality being placed in there. And the reason for that is because we don't really know what that term means, what the Greek term means. And there's still debate about it, but let's see what Wes has to say.
And uses this word arsinokoites, which literally means to lie down a man with a man.
So Wes should know better here. It does not literally mean for a man to lie down with another man. In fact, it is a compound word. The first time that we see this term is with Paul. Now, Paul most likely gets this from the Septuagint, and what he's drawing it from is from Leviticus. So in Leviticus, we actually see two words here. We see arson and coitus. And what Paul most likely does is just make it into a compound word. So in Leviticus, though, it means one person. It's only referring to one person. And that's the active individual when it comes to a male-to-male same-sex intercourse. That's it. It's only talking about the active participant, the person who's penetrating. That is what it's talking about. So it's not homosexuality in general. It's only one part of that equation. But we also have to remember that when we're looking at just the active role, that isn't just about homosexuality. We see that in other places as well. So to take this one single action and to say that, well, that condemns all of homosexuality just means that you don't know what homosexuality is. So to really sum up, what we have with Paul is simply him describing one individual. Now, does he really care? Probably not, but we'll get to that later.
But it's not obscure in the Hebrew and Greek.
So this is just laughable. If it's not obscure, then why does Huff actually get this point wrong? And the fact is, again, we're looking at a compound word, something that's brand new with Paul. We don't see it elsewhere. So yeah, these things do kind of become obscure. We don't exactly know what Paul is talking about. We can kind of get an idea, but we have to realize that compound words aren't just a sum of their two base words. Sometimes they mean other things. What Paul exactly means here, we don't fully know. But again, like I said before, I don't think it actually matters.
Men sleeping with boys or temple prostitution. Yeah. I don't think you can really rationalize that.
So I do agree with Huff here. I don't think we can rationalize some of the ideas that people have, that it's about child prostitution or temple prostitution or something along those lines, because that's not what the text says. But it also doesn't really relate what Huff is saying, because what Huff is doing, what most people do, is they ignore chapter 2, where Paul says, this was you, stop judging others. So what it actually means doesn't matter in the overall context.
It's just because the word homosexuality exists now in English doesn't mean that the concept isn't there.
I think this is really the problem here, is that people want to focus so much on that one word. And if you just read a few passages more, if you go to chapter 2, what does this entire thing mean? So in chapter 1, what Paul really is doing is he's riling people up. He's pointing out all these different vices, pointing out all these problems, all these issues that people have. And he's just kind of whipping them up into a frenzy. And in chapter 2, he pulls the rug out from everyone. He says, why are you judging these individuals? You are guilty of the same exact things. So when you judge them, you condemn yourself. Paul is taking a mirror and he's shining it back at those individuals, saying that you need to stop this. You need to stop acting holier than thou. Because what we have to remember is that the gift from God, the salvation from God, that God in general is compassionate. And when we act this way, when we condemn each other, when we push people down into the ground, when we mock them, when we judge them, what we're doing is we're stripping away this compassion from God. And so many people, they just want to stop at the end of chapter 1 instead of actually reading the context of this. And by not reading chapter 2, you miss the entire meaning. And this is exactly what Wes did here. He didn't actually read the context here. He's just so focused on this one single word that the context, that the meaning of all of this just fades away. No, I think if we're going to preach, if we're going to tell people, how to live, if we're going to try to put this message out in any way, we need to actually know what the Bible is saying. We need to know the context, and then we need to take that to heart. We can't just simply pick passages that agree with our views and then kind of force that down other people's throat. We have to realize that there's more to the story than this. And I think in the end, what we really have to do is focus on the idea of love. We have to love our neighbors, love our enemies, and realize that we really need this love ourselves. Because when we look at all of this, when we look at the entire picture here, what Paul is portraying is that we are all in the same boat. We're all sinners. We've all been found short of the glory of God. But yet God here is compassionate enough to still accept us, to give us this free gift of salvation. And we really shouldn't be trying to strip it away from people by judging them and by forcing them out of this community. So yeah, I've said this quite a few times in different videos, but really, as Christians, we just need to do better.